Margot Robbie, the stunning Barbie queen we all adore, just dragged Blake Lively live on air, and honestly, it wasn't even subtle. Apparently, Blake's obsession with hijacking other people's movies has reached such embarrassing levels that even Margot couldn't stay silent anymore.
Didn't actually audition for the role of Barbie. I produced the film, so I guess I cast myself.
Like, imagine being so shameless that while normal people hesitate to ask for ketchup refills, Blake's out here casually trying to steal lead roles and producer credits in films she's not even invited to.
I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing and the costume design and creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that.
And let me tell you how it all started. So, you remember around late 2021, right? That weird era when casting rumors were bouncing around and everyone had a theory? Yeah, that's when Blake Lively suddenly started dressing like she'd fallen into a vat of Pepto-Bismol and called it personal branding. Everything was pink. Her red carpets? Pink. Her Instagram? Pink. Her dog's collar? Probably pink too. And no, it wasn't just a cute fashion phase. It was a full-on campaign. Because while normal people wear outfits, Blake was out here wearing intentions. She was angling hard for Barbie. Not through the usual audition route, but through subtle, manipulative PR theatrics. She wanted to make people believe she already was Barbie. Like if she just wore enough pastel and stared long enough into the camera, the universe, or Mattel, would bend to her will.
I realized that half of the actors that I admire most were people who were more filmmakers, or people who had to get their hands in the storytelling and the writing and the creating and the environment, and people that I respected so much. And I was like, oh, okay, there's two different categories, and I'm in this category, and that's okay. So once I started embracing that and leaning into it and not feeling embarrassed about it, I think I was able to do the best work. And so that's why I'm so proud of this film.
But Blake wasn't just changing her closet, she was changing the narrative. Word leaked that her team, unsolicited by the way, sent a deck to Mattel pitching this whole legacy Barbie concept. You know, a mature, elegant, wise Barbie who's seen some things. AKA, a Barbie with a husband, 3 kids, a Pinterest board full of interior design inspo, and a suspicious amount of interest in directing.
And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled.
The proposal was glossy, curated, and desperate. Like, imagine not being invited to the party and sending a 10-slide PowerPoint anyway. And here's the kicker. Mattel wasn't even the main decision maker for the film. The actual production team, the people who really mattered, weren't consulted or even copied on the email. Meanwhile, over in the real world, Margot Robbie was sitting pretty. Literally, she was already Barbie. Not wishfully manifesting, not playing Instagram dress-up, but actually cast, actually producing, and actually working behind the scenes to bring Barbie to life through her own production company, Lucky Chap.
In the end, I promised Ryan a present every day if he did the movie, and then when he did do the movie, I was like, oh shit, I gotta get so many presents.
What kind of presents?
Just Ken-related things, like a puka shell necklace or, you know...
A horse-themed mat.
Horse-themed, yeah, like horse-themed lunchbox, something like that.
And we're not talking vague interest. Warner Brothers had her name down in 2020. That's before COVID vaccines, before Wordle, before anyone even remembered Ryan Gosling still acted. Margot was locked. Her name was stamped in so hard they might as well have tattooed it onto the script. So when Blake's pastel-coated campaign started making ripples in PR circles, you can imagine the production team blinking slowly and going, sorry, who?
So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like I don't want to just like be an actor. Like I want to, you know, I want to have more authorship.
And this is where it gets beautifully savage. Margot didn't say a word. No clapbacks, no public shade. She just pulled the plug. One whisper from her and the entire conversation around Blake being even remotely associated with Barbie died faster than Blake's directorial dreams. Greta Gerwig, by the way, was not amused by the antics.
Didn't actually audition for the role of Barbie. I produced the film, so I guess I cast myself, but I did make it very clear to Greta, Greta being our writer and director, she was always who I wanted to make a Barbie movie with. I said to her when she said, yes, I'll come on board, I don't have to be in the movie.
She doubled down on secrecy, locked everything under NDA, and cut any loose ends that could risk leaks. Especially since a sketch of Margot's cowgirl costume somehow found its way online. And yeah, timing's everything, because this sketch leaked right when Blake's team was being messy with Barbie-themed press tags. Coincidence? Maybe. But when fashion bloggers who'd previously tagged Blake in Barbiecore posts start reposting actual costume concepts from the movie, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like sabotage. Production treated it like a warning shot. And yet, no one publicly dragged Blake. Not even a blind item. Just this eerie, powerful silence that said more than 1,000 gossip columns ever could. She was erased, so thoroughly and efficiently that the public barely remembered she'd tried to stake a claim at all. There were no think pieces crying over what could have been, no Twitter threads longing for a Blake-led Barbie, nothing. Just Margot, skating in neon rollerblades, collecting critical acclaim, and laughing all the way to the billion-dollar box office. Meanwhile, Blake was left in her dressing room, still posting pink outfits like she was on the B-list promo circuit for a movie she never got invited to. It was tragic, really. And now Margot's gone off script. Live on air, she finally hinted at the mess Blake tried to pull, and oh boy, the passive aggression was chef's kiss. She didn't name names, but everyone knew. The tone? Icy. The smile? Weaponized. The message? Loud and clear. Some people tried to take what wasn't theirs, didn't work out. And that's the thing about Margot. She doesn't need to scream. She just delivers the blow with a champagne flute in hand and walks away while the other person's career bleeds out behind her. And then came mid-2022, when Barbie was fully rolling, cameras were flashing, and Margot Robbie was shutting down the internet without even trying. You know the photos, the neon rollerblades, the hot pink leotard, the chaotic Venice Beach energy. Leaked on July 3rd, and by July 4th, the only thing more viral than that outfit was people pretending they hadn't already saved it to their phones. But while Margot was out here filming actual scenes for a movie that was already halfway to breaking box office records, Blake Lively was launching a full-blown pink-colored digital tantrum. Yes, after getting a big no, still, she was on it. Between June and August, Blake somehow convinced herself that if she wore enough bubblegum couture, the world would get confused and accidentally cast her as Barbie through sheer delusion. First came Paris Fashion Week in full pink glam, then New York with another pink look, just in case anyone forgot the first one. And her Met Gala dress, yes, that shiny copper pink transformation gown that fashion bloggers immediately screamed was Barbie-coded. Even though it was allegedly inspired by the Statue of Liberty, we all saw through the nonsense. It was pink. It was calculated. And it was not subtle. But it gets worse. On June 22nd, Blake threw a charity event titled Barbie for the Cure. Yes, that was the actual name. Barbie for the Cure. With zero approval from Mattel. Who does that? You can't just slap Barbie on a flyer like it's a flavor of juice and expect no one to notice. And notice they did. 2 weeks later, Blake posted an Instagram carousel called Just Playing Dress Up, like this was all innocent fun and not a targeted PR campaign. Slide 4 was the real gem. Side ponytail, pastel skater outfit, and a pink visor that just happened to be nearly identical to the one Margot wore literally the day before in a leaked set photo. She was copying Margot's looks with such precision, you'd think she had a mole on set feeding her wardrobe updates in real time. And if anyone still believed this was a coincidence, the internet handled that. A Twitter thread popped up on July 10th comparing Margot's actual Barbie to Blake's try-hard pink invasion, and it exploded. 82,000 likes later, the tweet read, "Unpopular opinion, but Blake Lively might be the real Barbie. She's got the blonde, the looks, the legacy." And guess who liked it? Oh, just a casual trio of influencer accounts tied to past Mattel campaigns. You know, the ones who conveniently soft-launch partnerships before they're even announced. Because nothing says I'm not involved, like quietly rallying Barbie-adjacent hype while pretending to be above it. Then came the leak. Not a fun behind-the-scenes shot, a costume sketch. The now iconic pink cowgirl outfit Margot wore. A low-res drawing of it suddenly showed up on Pinterest and Twitter via @FashionMuse, the same account that had tagged Blake in Barbiecore posts before. And no one could explain how it got out. A stylist from the costume team later hinted on a podcast that they kept everything under lock and key. So if it didn't leak from inside, then someone outside clearly had access or motives. The stylist even said, "It felt like someone wanted to beat us to the aesthetic punch." I mean, how much louder can you say sabotage without actually yelling it? At this point, Warner Brothers had enough. On August 3rd, an internal memo went out like a digital cease and desist. Do not engage with any external Barbie-themed campaigns that are not officially aligned with the studio. And yes, the memo got leaked. Of course it did. One of the brand execs slipped it to deadline because apparently even they were tired of pretending this was normal. And Mattel? Oh, they backed the memo hard. A marketing rep even told Variety that Blake's campaign was confusing the public. Because while Margot's Barbie was this fresh, ironic, self-aware satire, Blake's version was just pink dresses and momcore. It was like comparing a billion-dollar movie to a Pinterest board. But Blake didn't stop. She posted a photo clutching a heart-shaped pink handbag, identical to a prop Margot was seen holding on set. Then came the pastel kitchen photo shoot with her daughters, which looked like it was ripped from a Barbie Dreamhouse ad that never aired. And just to round it out, she dropped a suspiciously Barbie-coded activewear line for moms under her Betty Buzz brand. No trademark, no official Barbie collab, but everything from the soft pink hues to the slogan screamed, "Wish I was cast." And then she got bold. Not just visuals anymore, she started mimicking the messaging. Margot's Barbie was all about ironic feminism and playful commentary. Blake's campaign was built around wholesome motherhood and female legacy. It was like watching someone knock off not just your outfit, but your entire personality. She wasn't trying to be Barbie the movie. She was trying to create her own version. Barbie, the mom edition. Completely unauthorized, but creepily parallel. And what did Margot do? Nothing. Not one post, not one interview jab, not even a passive-aggressive emoji. She let Blake spiral solo, but the studio definitely noticed. Sources say after Blake's creepy outfit copy streak, Margot's team embargoed future looks. They had to. One stylist told Glamour that they were timing wardrobe reveals because they didn't want another Skatergate situation. Imagine prepping for a billion-dollar press tour and having to hide your wardrobe like it's state secrets. By September, even Reddit was exhausted. Users compiled side-by-side lookbooks of Blake versus Margot and coined the term Blake branding Barbie. It had become a full-on internet subplot, and just when everyone thought it couldn't get more shameless, Blake's team tried to pitch a non-affiliated modern Barbie capsule to one of Mattel's partner brands. Yes, she was trying to launch a merch, without permission. While the actual movie was prepping for official licensing, the brand did what any sane company would do. They forwarded the pitch to Mattel Legal, and Mattel responded like they were swatting a fly. Void. At that point, the line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. Blake's campaign had gone from weird to invasive. Margot's Barbie was a cultural reset. Blake's Barbie was giving Etsy knockoff. No movie roles, no studio backing, no permission, just filtered pink vibes, suspiciously timed photos, and a desperate attempt to hitch herself to something that never belonged to her. And do you know what the most brutal part of the whole saga was? It wasn't the leaked memos or the canceled pink capsule collections. It was 12 words. When Margot Robbie was asked, point blank, about the rising online frenzy comparing her to Blake Lively and this whole ridiculous Battle of the Barbies circus gaining momentum on social media, she didn't even blink. She smiled, took a breath, and said, "Barbie doesn't belong to one person, but the story we're telling belongs to the version who earned it." That's it. 12 syllables and a smile that ended Blake's 2-year self-funded campaign in less time than it takes to say Betty Buzz. No names, no dragging, no drama. But the burn was so precise, so calculated, that you didn't need a decoder ring to figure out who she meant. Especially because, just 3 days before, Blake's team had floated yet another desperate Instagram teaser, drowning in vague pink visuals, a heart-shaped mirror, and a breathy voiceover about becoming the girl you were before the world told you who to be. It was like watching someone try to soft launch their way into a movie franchise they were never cast in. And Margot? She didn't even acknowledge it. She dropped one of the most graceful Hollywood assassinations of the decade and sashayed away like it was just another day in the dream house. And just in case there was anyone left on the fence, Greta Gerwig decided to casually flick a match onto Blake's pink paper trail. She left a now-deleted Instagram comment under a behind-the-scenes Barbie set photo, writing, "We're not making Barbie the brand. We're making Barbie the feeling. Soft, subtle, poetic, and lethal." It sat there quietly until someone screenshotted it, slapped it on Twitter, and captioned it with, "Greta just shaded Blake without saying her name. I'm screaming." Within an hour, it was trending, because that's how real power moves. No hashtags, no thirst, just a 5-word whisper that echoed louder than any of Blake's press stunts. That was the moment everything shifted. Blake, who had spent nearly 2 years dressing like a Mattel mannequin and sneakily trying to brand herself into Barbie lore, was finally told what everyone had been too polite to say. Sit down. The chair's already taken. And not taken by someone who threw pink at the wall and hoped it stuck. Taken by someone who earned it, through meetings, scripts, rewrites, trust, and talent. Not through Fashion Week gimmicks and staged kitchen photo shoots. Reporters weren't letting it go either. During an LA press roundtable, someone tried, again, to bait Margot by mentioning that Blake was being called the original Barbie in online threads. Margot didn't even entertain it. She smiled, nodded, and moved on like she'd been asked about the weather. No rebuttal, no clapback, just an elegant silence that said, "I'm not here to validate delusion." And then came the premiere. July 12th, 2023. Margot Robbie arrived like the final boss of Barbiecore. A custom Chanel gown inspired by the 1960s solo in the Spotlight Barbie. Black tulle, sheer gloves, diamonds dripping from every finger. It was elegant. It was symbolic. It was everything Blake had tried to manufacture and failed. Media headlines called it iconic. Fashion blogs dubbed it full circle brilliance. This was a woman who had been to every major fashion event that year. Met Gala, Cannes, CFDA Awards, decked out in pink like it was her birthright. And suddenly, when the one event that actually mattered rolled around, she vanished. No post, no red carpet, no congratulations. She ghosted the entire rollout. And then, 5 days later, she surfaced at a luxury fundraiser in LA, dressed head to toe in black. Long black satin dress, minimal jewelry, dark lipstick. She looked stunning, don't get it twisted, but she also looked like she was attending the funeral of her Barbie fantasy. Even Vogue picked up the energy and titled the coverage, "Gala Glamour Turns Gothic." Reddit didn't hold back either. The top voted comment, under a side-by-side image of Margot at the premiere and Blake at the gala, she wasn't invited to the dream house, so she threw herself the funeral. The symbolism was loud. Margot was at the peak of her career, leading one of the most culture-shifting films in years. And Blake? After months of aesthetic warfare, branding acrobatics, and silent competition, she was left without a script, a character, a cameo, or even a tweet. And let's be clear, this wasn't an isolated event. It was a pattern. Blake has a history of trying to expand her role in every project she steps into. Just ask Justin Baldoni. It Ends With Us started off as his deeply personal directorial venture. He signed on to direct, co-produce, star in it, literally poured his soul into the adaptation, and then came Blake. At first, her casting was celebrated. Big star, high visibility, solid PR. But behind the scenes, it got messy fast. By early 2023, whispers started surfacing. Blake was demanding script rewrites, pushing for emotional pivots to favor her character, and overriding creative decisions that had nothing to do with her. An assistant producer told The Wrap, "It became less about telling the story and more about telling it Blake's way." Classic Lively maneuver. Show up, smile for the cameras, and then bulldoze every department until the project reshapes itself around her. Baldoni, who's basically Hollywood's favorite softie, reportedly tried to keep the peace. But by April, meetings were full-blown war zones. Blake's team accused him of creating an unsafe environment, filed legal complaints, and started reframing the fallout as harassment. He denied everything. Then he countersued. For breach of contract, for defamation, for turning a film into a courtroom, and leaked emails from the time showed what everyone inside already knew. This wasn't new. This was Blake, rewriting narratives, claiming control, and torching anyone who didn't hand over the reins. So when Margot delivered that now legendary quote, it wasn't just a comment on Barbie. It was a statement about who gets to lead, about who deserves to lead. And Blake? For all her dresses, her branding, her calculated campaigns, she didn't earn it. Not because she's untalented, but because she couldn't step back. Couldn't let a story breathe unless it was hers. And Hollywood noticed. Not in headlines, not in dramatic takedowns, but in the silence, the closed doors, the invites that never came, and the one-liners that said more than press releases ever could. Sadly, Baldoni didn't see it coming, or maybe he was just too soft-hearted. But now that he's fighting back, the real question is, how do you think this Blake versus Baldoni war will end?